I have to say that when I was invited to this conference, the topic was a little bit different. And I also have to say that I'm much more let's make things happen girl or woman than a triple helix model. I know about triple helix, and of course if you have any questions I will answer them. But I'm much more practitioner. I'm just the one that do things. So I think that that actually happens a lot, that some people go out, make an idea into reality, and then some very clever people will come around, researchers or scientists will say, oh, you're actually using the triple helix model. And actually that's quite nice also. So how do I do this?
Yeah. Or you
this is the sketch of Green Solution House. This is how it looked. This is how we dreamed it should look like, and I will show you some pictures later on. And how much time do I have? 15 minutes?
15 would be great, yes.
I'll start with the background. Why do we have a Green Solution House at Bornholm? Do anybody know about Bornholm? A lot of people do, thank you. It's an island in the Baltic Sea. And we have a strategy for creating a sustainable society. This strategy is called Bright Green Island. It was made in 2007, and one of the ideas or tasks to be done was to create the Green Solution House, creating a sustainable conference center to extend the tourist season at Bornholm. The tourism sector at Bornholm is the second largest industry at the island. So, by extending the tourist season, we could actually have a directly impact on the unemployment rate at the island. I was part of the workshop in 2007, and since then I had done the market analysis. I have raised all the funding, 85 million Danish kroner. Half of it was grants from different kind of private foundations in Denmark primarily, but also we got 16 million kroner from the EU. So the main answer of the market analysis said, if you are doing, or if you want to extend the season at the island of Bornholm with a conference center, it has to be an attraction in itself. And how do you do that? Because if you only build a normal conference center, you can actually answer or ask, why haven't you done it 15 years ago or 100 years ago? The competition is so huge on that market, so you have to make the place an attraction in itself. So we came up with this idea that we will make it sustainable. And if I should totally spoil the schedule of the day, I would ask each of you, what is sustainability? What is sustainable building? How do you actually renovate sustainable? How do you actually build a new building sustainable? And we could discuss what is the right answer. And I didn't know at that time anything about sustainability, almost. And I didn't know anything about building processes. I'm educated in a bank. I know a lot about financial risk. I didn't know anything about building a conference center. I do now. What I did, and then we go to the triple helix model. What is very important, and one of the biggest learnings from this process that started in 2007, and the Crown Prince of Denmark opened the Green Solution House in April 2015. One of the learnings, as I said, that is you have to cooperate with people that are different from yourself. Whether you find them in the public sector, whether you find them at the universities, or you go out, as I did, from a hotel and asked one of the hardcore businesses in Denmark, Velux, which are known for their daylight windows, and also to Saint-Gobain, which is the biggest company in Europe creating building materials and solutions. Believe me, they were quite different than me, and quite differently thinking than me. But what we actually came up with was this, what I would show you now. This looks like a normal slide. I can tell you it has taken so much time to do this slideshow because we had to agree, Velux, Saint-Gobain, Realdania, which are the foundation that gave us 20 million, Autodesk from Canada, and GXN Innovation, which is part of a Danish architect company. I believe I have used approximately 70% of all I've been doing during the project, trying to get these people to communicate. And believe me, they speak very, very different languages. Even though we're not talking English here, we're talking like engineers, architects, contractors. That has been very interesting. But what we want to inspire our visitors by offering a comfortable stay in a healthy and creative environment. This is how we look at sustainability. The building and landscape show a holistic approach to sustainable design, emphasizing regenerative solutions, including healthy indoor climate, renewable energy sources, active materials, and recyclability. And the meaning with Green Solution House is that you can come there and enjoy it. I think it's quite nice. But you can also learn a lot. If you want to just relax with your girlfriend, you can do that. Having some nice food, you can do that. You can come for vacation, but you can also have meeting and conference with the topic of sustainability. The place is a dynamic showroom for these materials and for these solutions. And many of the materials there are actually prototypes. But again, you can also have a meeting where you're just talking about food or agriculture or whatever. But it's supposed to be a place where you can actually learn something about sustainability. What we do is that we explore circular sustainability, and we will never stop doing it. Right now, I know because we have been nominated for several prizes around the world, also at the COP21, as one of 10 most sustainable buildings in Europe, that we have actually made a groundbreaking building. But I also know there are so many innovative people out there. So in a couple of months or hours or years, I don't know, somebody else will come and say they have the most interesting building in Europe or in the world that you should come and see. So we have set up a business model. So the surplus I hope to make next year can't go back to our stakeholders. We are owned by our foundation. The surplus can only be reinvested in new solutions, new research programs with universities, together with the municipality, or we have, for example, also the Minister of Environment as one of the people, what should you say, organization that we work together with. Yeah. The last sentence here, our vision is to redefine what revenue represents. So for us, revenue is something else than just money. It's also knowledge about air, indoor climate, daylight and learning, and just Green Solution House should be a nice place to go. I go very fast. I just want to show you the picture. This is how it looks from the outside. Here we are inside. As you can see, we had a lot of daylight. We know that daylight is very good for learning, and we will work together with a university in Denmark to figure out, can we actually monitor that you will get more out of a meeting if you had it at Green Solution House instead of sitting here. We actually know already that our guests says after a day, at this time, after a conference day at this time in the afternoon, they are less tired because we have so much daylight. Of course, Velux is also interested in that result, so we work together with the university and Velux doing this. This is how our conference center looks like when you're in the main hall. Whoops. And this is how the foyer looks like, where you also have a lot of daylight. And when you look up at the ceiling up there, you have a prototype of Velux with, it's called Velux Modular Skylight, filled with solar cells, so we actually produce a lot of our energy ourselves. So back to, I end up with a triple helix. You said, Jan, was that your name? Yeah. You have looked into my notes, I think. Because what we also do, I have an example of how we work with a triple helix. Of course, we want to minimize waste. Everybody does that. But we will end up with some waste, and we have a kitchen and a restaurant, and we have approximately 20 tons of organic waste a year. even though we have a small menu card and do whatever we can with the seasonal food and all that stuff. So what we're doing right now with a Danish company, we want to create a small pyrolysis plant so we can heat up all our waste 850 degrees, and out comes a product called biochar, which is full of nutrition that we can give back to the land. We have a huge landscape around the Green Solution House, 65,000 square meters. And of course, we have our own kitchen garden there. And one day the hospital came by, and they said, won't you have some of our waste? Because they like the story, because of course they can give it to the waste handling company at the island. And that is one solution, but we want to test other solutions at our place. So I'm not going here to talk that pyrolysis is much better than the biogas. I'm just saying sometimes you can do something else. And this actually led us also to that the Masdar University Abu Dhabi wants to work together with us, because they like the small size of the small size and the small scale of the pyrolysis plant. So we have this cooperation with the hospital, Green Solution House, the Minister of Environment in Denmark supported, and we also have the local hospital that work together with us. So I think that's quite a good example of triple helix, even though I had to look it up on Google to see what it was. So, I think that should be the words for me, and then I'll say that please come and visit. The idea is that everything that we do in the research and what we do in the practical during the day are open source. We want to share it with everybody. I believe that we all get better solutions and more innovation if we talk to each other. So our business plan is of course, you should come to Bornholm so you can get the knowledge there. So I invite all of you to Bornholm. Thank you.
Thank you, Trine. And Trine, would you say that the 70% that you spent on getting everyone to talk to each other, what's the alternative? I mean, what would have been the other way to go, and how can we minimize those 70%?
The funny thing is that I went out and I had to decide who to work with. I went to some of the most famous architects in Denmark, for example, and also one of the biggest, some of the biggest engineer companies. And when you start to ask them, do you want to make the most innovative building in the world? Because that was actually the goal. Will you do that? Yeah, they say. Everybody wants it. But what they actually do, especially the engineers, I'm sorry to say if I insult any of you here, I hope you're different than most engineers then, because what they do when you start to work within the project, they do copy and paste. So during the period, after a year, I had an example of, it looked like a totally normal house outside of Copenhagen, but only 8,000 square meters, because they had digged into a lot of other projects and done the copy and paste thing. So there you have to keep on talking to them and saying, remember, you have to be innovative, and you have to translate between the engineer and the architect. So I don't think you can do it differently. And especially not if you work with very big companies. Then it's very, very difficult.
What would you say has been your best weapon or your best tool to make it work?
That I know so many people. And they know that I work together with the Minister of Environment. They know that I work together with the EU. And none of these companies want to have their name mentioned, that they're not very good to work together with. So you can say their reputation. And that weapon you have to use all the time. And I actually still use it, even though we had the grand opening.
So fear management is the way to go for triple helix.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I love the Danes in that sense.